Hear the intro in the background. We coming. All right, folks. Welcome to another installment of the SportsRap podcast. Right here on Heat 100 Radio. It is your boy, SportsRap D, in the building. And you see, got my banner right over my shoulder. But I'm here at Heat 100 Radio, where I've been for a while now. And listen, like the drop said, station that keeps it 100. And got a lot to get to. Robert Reeves, good morning. Thanks for tuning in. Got some stuff to get to today, like I gave y'all in the intro real quick. But, we going to talk some Eagles. Mag, what's going on, homie? We going to talk some Eagles. We going to talk some Sixers. And we going to talk some other stuff. So, first thing I want to do is I want to say happy holidays again to everybody. Although I know Christmas was yesterday, I hope everyone had a good Christmas, a warm, safe, and blessed Christmas. I hope everybody had. Hope everybody got everything they wanted for Christmas. And, if you feel like it, while you're here, chime in and let me know what you got. Let me know how Christmas was for you. And then also let me know what you plan on doing for the new year. For me, and I'll start right here, right now, before we get into, what we do every day. My Christmas was good. It was really good, actually. The cold, it was cold, but, I'm weird. Like, when I'm in the house, sometimes when the draft comes through, I get a little chilly sitting still in the house. But when I'm outside, I'm pretty good because I'm usually wherever I'm going, from like the house to the car, then right into work, or if I got to run around, I'm from the car to the store, right back to the car, then right back home. So it's not a lot of time that I'm actually out in the cold outside. So I'm okay with that. But it was cold. I do admit it was cold yesterday. But again, my Christmas was really good. I have gotten to the point where, for me, Christmas is more so for me about my family. I like to see my family happy. I like to be home with them to see them happy on Christmas, and that's pretty much fine for me. Although, everybody likes the gifts, of course, or whatever. So, like this year, I weirded my family out this year. I actually bought myself a couple things and slid them under the tree for myself, or not under the tree, but I actually opened them up on Christmas morning for myself. But again, my enjoyment was watching my family open their gifts, seeing that they got the things that they wanted, the expressions on their faces, and then we went and had dinner with more family. So it was a family fun, blessed, Merry Christmas for me. For New Year's Eve, and I know this is like another one of the biggest party years for a lot of people. James Clax, thanks for tuning in. I'm sorry I missed you real quick. I'm not, for the past several years, I'm usually at work, and then I got to shoot home, hurry up and make sure I get home before the new year with them. But this year I'm off. So I'm, again, going to be in the house, bringing the new year in the house with family. I'm not going to be out in these streets on New Year's, one of the most dangerous years, I think, too. Other than the 4th of July, I think New Year's Eve and 4th of July are like two of the most dangerous celebrating times since forever. But again, like I said, when you're here, you can comment on the things that I say during the sports show, the sports topics, or if you want to just jump in and let me know how your Christmas was and whatever. Also, folks, you can chime in and ask me questions. I'm always here giving you guys information. And I know it was last week, Lowell Rich threw a couple questions at me, and I asked him. So, I'm here for you guys as well. Like I said, I bring you the stuff. But, feel free, like I said, to chime in with the comments on your opinions and your thoughts on some of the things that I say, whether you agree or disagree. And then also, if you want to ask me how I feel about something that I haven't brought to you, feel free to do that. Also, if you want, you can call in. If you feel free to call in, 215-287-1672. And again, I know a lot of you are home, you're still relaxing, so I'll probably get more comments than I will phone calls, and that's cool. But just to let you know that you do have that option. But, the comments are welcome as well. So, let's get into what we get into. Some news, some updates real quick. We're going to get into some scores. And it usually flows us right into our NFL stuff. So this is what we'll do. We'll stay true to what we do. Like we said, station that keeps it 100, Heat 100 Radio. Before I do that, most of you already know, here Facebook Live, SportsRap Podcast LLC is the group page. Auntie Joe, thanks for tuning in. But this is where the live stream is. Facebook group page, SportsRap Podcast LLC. You can also get us on Heat100Radio.com. Okay, you can also go to the TuneIn app, search Heat 100 Radio, and you can get us there too. So a couple of ways you can get us, and just tune in and, do what you do. So some news and some updates. Ryan Tannehill has had surgery. I forget what particular injury it was, but he will likely be out for the season, which likely ends the playoff run for the Titans. Alex Ovechkin scores twice over the weekend. He passes Gordie Howe on the goals list in the NHL. Some Giants players were inside the mall at the time of the deadly shooting in Mall of America in Minnesota over the weekend. Jets wide receiver coach Miles, I forget his name, but he was Miles Austin. Jets wide receiver coach Miles Austin gets a 1-year gambling ban. Former Saints coach Sean Payton reportedly gearing up for a return and is trying to build an all-star coaching staff. Reports are out that he wants Vic Fangio as his defensive coordinator in his return. Steelers great Franco Harris, died over the weekend. They paid tribute to him. They retired his number over the weekend, and they were the primetime game on Christmas Eve. Again, it was the same teams, the Steelers. And who did they play on that day? Where am I? Steelers and the Raiders. Same teams, same game. Not same game, but same teams. In honor of Franco Harris, they retired his number, and they paid homage to the Immaculate Reception there. Let's see. There are sources that came out, one from Adrian Wojnarowski. And there's a rumor floating, some chatter, stating that James Harden would consider a return to Houston in free agency. Hold that. Put that in your memory banks. Write it down if you need to. We're going to get to that later on down the line. Let's see. The Jets are also expected to move on from Zach Wilson after the season. Terrible thing. He was brought in, drafted in there to be their guy, and it just didn't work out. So they're expected to move on from him after the season. Kathy Whitworth, the winningest golfer in history, dies yesterday at the age of 83. That is your news, your scores, and your updates for Monday, December 26, 2022. Yo, folks, listen, it is 5 days left in 2022. Also, folks, when you chime in and tell me what you did for Christmas, how your holidays were, and what you plan on doing for New Year's, I'm going to flip it a little bit. I'm not going to ask what your alleged New Year's resolution is. I'm going to ask, what are you taking or leaving in 2022 into 2023? That's what I want to hear from you. I don't want to hear what your resolution is, what you plan on doing in 2023. I want to know if there's anything you're leaving, what that is, and if anything you're taking with you into 2023, what that is. That's what we're going to do. We're not going to do the resolutions thing. I want to know what you're leaving, if so, and what you're taking with you, if that happens to be the case as well. Moving on to some Christmas Day scores. So I got these NFL scores in here that I wrote down. I forgot I had the schedule. So I'm going to give you the NFL scores when I get to the NFL schedule. So only sports that were pretty much active nationally yesterday was NBA and NFL. So let's go NBA since they kicked off Sunday at 12 o'clock. Sixers, Knicks. Sixers take that game 119-112. Lakers and the Mavs were up next. The Mavs take that 124-115. The Celtics beat up on the Bucks 139-118. The Warriors in a heated game, a rivalry game beginning, if you will, because this is beginning to get to becoming a rivalry, a little edgy, because these teams apparently do not like each other. And this is going back like 2 years now. So the Warriors take this game 123-109 yesterday. And the Suns, in a close one, fall to the Nuggets 128-125. Those are your Christmas Day NBA scores. And like I said, I got Christmas Day NFL games, but I'll give you those when we slide right over to the NFL schedule. and I will give you NBA schedules for today a little bit later after we close out. So, right now, it's 11:05, so got some time. We're going to move right into our football scores. We are into week 16, okay? So this week was played. There's two more official games to the regular season to have every team get to their 17th game. We all know the situation that happened on Saturday, and once I get through these scores, we're going to jump right into some stats from that game and really talk a little bit about that game. And I hope to try and smooth some things over for some people. I see there wasn't a lot of chatter about the game on either side, to be brutally honest. We know the Cowboys fans are going to do their thing. And then the one thing I did see was I saw some people posting about the Eagles and the Cowboys beat us with their backup quarterback. And then the Cowboys fans are kind of getting a little shady with it. But it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. It's the same excuse you guys tried to use when we beat you guys earlier. So if you can use it, why can't we? So getting into some scores, going back to Thursday, my birthday, December 22nd, 52 years around the sun. Thanks to everybody that wished me a happy birthday again. The list is always long. So I used to try and go in individually and just like everybody as they popped up. But as you're doing stuff throughout the day, I'm not stuck right to my phone. I put my phone down sometimes and then I go back and check. So again, everyone that can hear me from here to wherever, that can see me from here to wherever, thank you all who took time out of your day to acknowledge me on my day. It's definitely appreciated. Felt good to be loved. I felt the love from a lot of people. It felt good. So thank you all for that, for acknowledging me on my birthday. That day particular kicked off week 16. Jacksonville at the New York Jets. The Jaguars take that game 19-3. Then we move into Saturday. And it's like a split because of Christmas weekend, and the way Christmas fell. So it looks like they split the game. So we had games on Saturday, Christmas Eve. Buffalo 35, Chicago 13. New Orleans 17, Cleveland 10. Houston 19, Tennessee 14. Kansas City 24, Seattle 10. Let's see. The New York Giants fall in Minnesota 27-24. Cincinnati beats New England 22-18. Detroit falls to Carolina 37-23. Baltimore gets past Atlanta 17-9. San Fran gets up on Washington 37-20. Dallas just gets by Philadelphia 40-34. Las Vegas falls to Pittsburgh 13-10. Yesterday's games, Green Bay outlasts Miami 26-20. Denver gets walloped 51-14 by the Rams. And then the night game last night, Tampa Bay outlasts Arizona 19-6. One more game closing out this week, the Monday night game, and I'll give you that as well at the end of the day before I wrap up. So let's go real quick. And I don't know if you tuned in yet, but I want to go first to this LA Rams Denver game. I was stunned when I saw the score, folks. When I looked at that, I didn't really watch that game. Like I said, I was hanging out with family, so I didn't really see it. And then we had basketball on, so, whatever. But when I saw the score, I was like, no way. No way. It's like something, and we talked about this a couple weeks back. We don't know, and it just seems like you can't put your finger on it, what it is that happened in Denver this season. It's kind of like they fell into some type of black hole or something. And it all goes back to the offseason where they thought that they made a really strong move in prying Russell Wilson away from Seattle because of the way things started to sour there. But we've seen all season long And people can arguably say for debate and conversation purposes that they got duped. But we didn't know this. Nobody knew this going in, that it would be this bad. And again, like I mentioned prior when I talked about this, I'm not seeing the same Russell Wilson that I saw. Like, when people say that, the little comparison here, people have said that about James Harden. But we know the situation with James Harden, and this is going back to him being with the Nets. Okay, and when everything started to sour in Houston, then he went to the Nets, and now he's here. But we knew, especially once we got James Harden, that we were not going to get the James Harden from early Houston days. We knew that. We thought we would get some of that. And then we got him halfway through the season, so it couldn't really come together like it did. And then we got this season, and then we got hit with these injuries. He got injured, he missed some time, but he's back now, and we're going to talk about how he's played in the last couple games since he's been back when we get to that part too. But and then you look at, so you're getting stuff now from James Harden, for comparison, to finish this up. You're getting stuff from James Harden that you're happy with, that you can accept, that you can see the flashes of. You got some of the James Harden from there, but you just ain't getting it all. But you going to take what you can get, and right now it's more than what we got in that half a season last season. Now you flip that back, and we go to talk about Russell Wilson. We're not seeing anything close to the Russell Wilson we saw in Seattle. Even when the last couple years things started to decline a little bit, we still saw that Russell Wilson making plays and doing things that we were accustomed to him doing. Now in Denver, he looks like an entirely different Russell Wilson. We talked a little bit about how there was a talk of a little bit of an injury that was not so much of an injury. I think that was a little bit of a cover-up for the way things were going. But then things didn't pick up. They kept going in that same decline. And then you look at yesterday's game, 51-14 to the Rams. It's like, come on. The Rams, like, they are the defending Super Bowl champions. Yes, they are. But we've all seen what the Rams have done this season. They're down to grabbing Baker Mayfield off of waivers and having him play. And he surprisingly had a good game yesterday, apparently. But nonetheless, this is a Rams team that, at worst, you kind of felt like Denver would have been competitive in that game. So I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's Russ in that scheme. Is Russ really hurt? Is something else going on with play calling on both sides of the ball? Has the team, as we like to say, quit on the coach? We don't know. And on the outside looking in, we'll probably never know the true story until something happens. And then when something happens, we definitely still will not know every intricate detail. They're going to give us, like I always say, they'll give us what they want to give us in the story. I'll do some snooping as always, and I'll usually find some other stuff, but that's just what I do, and I'll give all that to you like I always do. But it's really weird and really strange how Denver has, like this year, just almost fell off the NFL planet, if you will. And I'm not like poking at him. I'm just calling it a spade a spade. I'm just reporting on seeing what I've seen. And I know a couple of Denver Broncos fans, and they're like, I can't even say that they're upset. I think they're more confused than upset about how their season is going. Because you, like I said in the beginning, you can very well bring this dialogue up in a debate and say that now of what we've seen so far, and it's at was towards the end of the season, from what we've seen so far, you can very well have this debate and this argument and this dialogue and say everybody got duped. And you can stretch that back and somewhat defend that or state your claim in that argument and say, could something have been going on with Russ that we don't know about that kind of prompted the trade and all of the other dialogue from Seattle. Of course, like I say, we'll never know the definite trueness of it, but we'll only know what they give us and what we see. So again, like I said, it's just tough for Denver fans. I feel what you're going through, and like they say, it gets worse before it gets better. But the problem is with Denver is the move that they made to get Russ. They kind of got rid of some assets, a lot of assets that they could use right now to help them in the getting better process. So we'll see what happens with them in the offseason and see how they attack things there. Moving on, we got to go back to Saturday. I can't not talk about it. It was somewhat disappointing, and I think for a lot of people the disappointment came more so because it was Dallas. Again, like we knew ahead of time that there was a chance that Jalen wouldn't play. And as early as we possibly could, we got confirmation that it was going to be Gardner Minshew. And don't get me wrong, Minshew did not play a bad game at all. We all know from watching that game what killed us, and I'm definitely going to talk about that. But we all know what killed us in that game. And like I commented on somebody's post that night, Christmas Eve night, when they talked about that game, I said, with this that went on, we still had a chance to win. And I'll clear that up for you. I'm just leaving the blanks there for right now. So, we can definitely get into that. So, the disappointment, again, I believe, for me, definitely, and for probably a lot more people, was because it was Dallas. And we know how the media makes that team seem like they're tops above. I mean, they were 4.5-point favorites against the best team in the league with the best record in the league because they were home, whatever. They were still 2 weeks ago. They were favored with higher chances to win the Super Bowl than the Eagles. But let me say this. In that game Saturday, people will bring to the table that Dallas's defense did A, B, and C. And I'll give you that because that's what they're going to do. Because it's the Dallas Cowboys and they're playing against the Eagles. That's what's going to happen. I understand that and I accept that. I don't mean I have to like it, but I accept it and I understand it. The bottom line is, in that entire situation, Dallas's defense, to me, is still suspect. Okay, they might have some injuries there, whatever, but what they've been playing the last several weeks has been suspect. Okay? You gave up 40-plus points to the Jaguars, and you lose that game in overtime. You gave up a bunch of points to somebody else. You struggled with the Houston Texans. Okay? Now, you look at that team and you look at what the Eagles did. 4 turnovers. 4 turnovers in a game. Usually, more than likely, 99.9% of the time, you're not going to win that game. It's just the way it happens. You can't put any math into it. Well, I just put math into it. But the majority of the time, take the math out. The majority of the time, when you have 4 miscues like that, and then the other team capitalizes on it, which compounds it, you're not going to win too many games like that. So in essence, the score was 40-34, right? 40-34. So in essence, the Eagles gave them 17 points. If those turnovers don't happen and they don't score those 17 points on their turnovers, the Eagles win that game 34-23. Just playing with numbers, playing with situations, and playing devil's advocate a little bit. But again, like I said, we know that didn't happen, and we are real with it. Okay? Going into that game, 1 of 3, where the Eagles had to get 1 win. And again, a lot of people ask me how I felt about that game, how I felt about the injury with Jalen Hurts and whatever. I felt like, and this is all me, this is the way I felt. Okay? I felt like if he could go, you play him. if he could go. But in the same token, because it's Dallas, the game means a little bit more to them than it does to us. With him playing and knowing what he did to them in game one, you kind of have to monitor it. So it was one of those situations for me where it's like, I'm going to monitor it. I may have to pull them early. I may just get them at the half, depending on how things are going. That was how I felt, because you only needed one win. On the flip side of that, I also felt like you only need one game. So conceivably, looking at where you are, looking at the stretch of how long you could possibly have him out, which could turn into about a month if you rest him in these last 3 games all total, and then that week, a bye week, and then the playoffs. So that's, in essence, that's about a month. You don't want that, especially with him with an injury right now. You don't want that with the injury, and you don't want that especially with him being healthy, okay? Because with the healthy thing, all right, and you rest him, there's going to be some rust. With the injury thing, you want to rest him, but then you also don't want him to be too rusty going into the playoffs because of the injury situation, if you understand what I'm getting at. But ideally, you don't want to rest him that long of a span. But for me, it was more or less, my interpretation was that if you can get this game, get it over with, then you can rest Jalen in the next 2. Then you only got 3 weeks. And then he goes in, and goes into the playoffs. And I just said it would just be that much sweeter if it came in a game against Dallas. That's just how I thought. Being an Eagles fan, Darius fan, not a Cowboys fan, not liking the Cowboys. That was just how I felt. I felt like it would just make it much more sweeter if that win that you really needed to get that number 1 seed came against the Dallas Cowboys. Didn't happen that way, so, we move on, okay? Lowell Rich, thanks for tuning in. So we move on. We got the Saints coming up Sunday, and then we got the Giants to close out the season. 2 games at home, where arguably the Giants game at the end of the season, when the Giants are fighting for their lives, could still mean something for them, but won't mean crap for us. Again, I'm a little shaky with it, but I don't see Jalen playing Sunday against the Saints. I think the difference between the Saints game and then going into that Dallas game was kind of like a grudge match. It was a division game, so it was a lot more intense going into that. Going into the Saints game, we look at the standings. The Saints really don't have much to play for except trying to play spoiler. But even with Gardner Minshew, and he showed you how he can manage a game, and I'm going to get to his stats in a second, I think we'll be fine. I think they can beat the Saints. I think they can beat the Giants at the end too, but I think they can beat the Saints and get that win, and then they can kind of take it easy a little bit, maybe get some guys that are a little bit banged up, some rest, and then get ready for the playoffs. Also, with the game Saturday, I'm sending this out to Chris Sims, mainstream ESPN analyst, who made a crazy statement and talked about quarterbacks, and he talked about Josh Allen, he talked about Patrick Mahomes, and he said those 2 guys, if you take them away from their teams, they're totally different. Well, again, I said when I saw that, I said I don't know what he's been watching and whatever, but he said if Jalen Hurts is taken away and Gardner Minshew plays, the Eagles are the same team. No, they're not. And you saw that on Saturday. And what you lose is you lose a lot of the dynamics in your RPOs. You can still run some RPOs with Gardner, but now you don't have to worry about that threat of Jalen pulling it out of the running back's stomach and getting outside, getting around that corner. So the team is different, Chris Sims. I don't know what the hell you were talking about when you saw that, and I don't know. I'm going to have to send this to ESPN and let them see it and let him see it, and then if he wants to talk to me, he can talk to me, whatever, but feel strongly about what I say, and a lot of other people feel strongly about what I say, and they agree and said the same things. It was crazy how he said that the Eagles were the same team with Gardner Minshew. And again, like I said, unfortunately, it was a loss, but you saw the difference in the game, in the team, and the way the offense was run with Gardner Minshew. So they are different with Gardner Minshew. I just had to get that off my chest, folks, anyway. But getting back to Gardner Minshew, like I said, going in, I wasn't nervous, shaky. I knew that the coaching staff would adjust the RPOs and change them up, and they would add some other things into the offense to suit the skill set of Gardner Minshew. I was also glad to see Dallas Goedert back because that also helped. I would have liked to seen them run the ball more because Dallas was like bad against the run, and you could have run the ball, and you probably could have won that game if you ran the ball a little bit more. But nonetheless, looking at the stats, Gardner Minshew, like I said, not a bad game. Again, we all know what hurt us. 24-40, 355 yards. He averaged 8.9 yards a throw. Threw two touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So they kind of balanced out and leveled each other out, 2 touchdowns. On the other side, Dak Prescott, 27-35, 347 yards, 9.9 yards average, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Okay, the other key thing, Eagles, Gardner Minshew, no sacks, no minus yards. On the other side, Cowboys gave up 6 sacks for 43 yards. All right. Also, our 2 receivers, A.J. Brown, 6 receptions, 103 yards. Devontae Smith, 8 receptions, 113 yards. Dallas Goedert, 3 receptions, 67 yards. So the game was there. Again, the glaring number that disappointed me more than the fact that we lost to Dallas when we could have clinched the first number 1 seed. The more disturbing stat line are the 4 turnovers. Like I said, the 4 turnovers that led to 17 points. Ideally, you can play devil's advocate. You can think about it like I just did real quickly. If you take those 17 points away, you take those turnovers back. And let's say the Eagles don't even score on those drives where they had those turnovers. With what they did score, the Eagles could arguably win that game 34-23. I'm just saying what it is. But with all of that entailed into the mixture, okay, the 4 turnovers, and we know that's what killed us. It was not the team play. Defense kept us in it. Again, 6 sacks, 43 yards. Only 1 turnover for them, but they did pressure Dak Prescott, whatever. But those 4 turnovers really, really killed us. And then again, with all of that in the mix, what happened? The Eagles still had a chance to win at the end of that game. They only lost by 6 points. If they get to that drive and they scored a touchdown, they tied the game. They kicked the extra point, which we arguably can say is a gimme for Jake Elliott. They win the game by 1 point and shut the mouths of the Cowboys. Like, the Cowboys were so excited and so happy that they won that game, but they're still fighting for their playoff lives. They need us to lose out. I highly doubt that's going to happen, that the Eagles will lose out to the Saints and then to the Giants. I don't think so. I think what's going to happen, and the way we saw after that first loss to the Commanders, I think ended because of the opponent. It's a little different. I think the Eagles are going to go in and just focus. Like, there were some things we know. Everything else, we can take some good things from. The stats, the way the game was played, the way Gardner Minshew played, everything else was good. Okay? Defense on the overall, pretty solid. Those 4 turnovers. 4 turnovers is what really did it. So I think they're going to focus on taking care of the ball. They're going to come out with some type of urgency. And I think that they'll be they're comfortable with Gardner Minshew playing if he has to play on Sunday. I think the offense will be what it is. I think they'll run the ball more like they didn't do Saturday. They'll run the ball more. And I think what they'll do Sunday is they will make plays that will allow them to secure the ball and move the ball down the field. I also think that they'll be focused on detail. Like I said, focused on detail and making sure that they maintain possession of the ball when they need to maintain possession of the ball. So again, like I said, I don't think it's too much to worry about. The Eagles will be fine. Again, the magic number is still 1. They got 2 games to get 1. Again, I think they'll get that 1 on Sunday against the Saints. I don't think it's going to push that far to needing the game against the Giants. And then I think some guys get just a little bit of rest, just regular general rest going into the playoffs with that first week bye. And then as we say, if we get that bye, we get that number 1 seed, everything comes through South Philly. So we'll be a lot more comfortable at home until we have to get to the Super Bowl. Folks, it is 11:31. I'm going to take my first break right now. When I come back, we are going to talk some Sixers. Another happy thing we can talk about. We're going to talk some Sixers. Great game yesterday. Didn't start out so hot, but the end is what we wanted, It's not how you start, it's how you finish. Folks, it's been fun talking to you. I'll be right back on the other side. You are tuned in to SportsRap right here on Heat 100 Radio. Tune into some music right now. It's your boy, SportsRap D. Catch y'all on the other side in just a second. We say welcome back to second half of the SportsRap podcast right here on Heat 100 Radio. Also on Facebook streaming live and the group page SportsRap Podcast LLC. Thanks to everyone that was with me earlier in the first segment. Hope you all come back and hope some more people come back and tune in. Before I move on, I did not mention and did not acknowledge some things that I feel like I need to get to. We talked about our Eagles and we talked about our magic number is still 1. Hey, Cuzzo, good morning. Tawanda Bowman, good morning. Thank you, Cuzzo. We talked about the Eagles. We talked about how the loss was, and we talked about we're fine. We got 1 win. Got to get 1 win in 2 games. Shouldn't be an issue. I believe strongly that they'll get that win Sunday at home against the Saints. But nonetheless, have to acknowledge our Pro Bowlers. Okay, Pro Bowlers. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 actual players already in for the Pro Bowl. Those players are A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, Jason Kelsey, Darius Slay, Hassan Reddick, Miles Sanders, Lane Johnson, and Landon Dickerson. So anybody that wants to argue and say the Eagles don't have the best offensive line in the league, they could be crazy. You can very well defend that argument with 3 of the 5 in the Pro Bowl. Okay? But listen to this. We have alternates. We got 7 possible alternates. Another offensive lineman in that, Jordan Mailata. Okay? Along with our long snapper, Rick Lovato. The other cornerback, James Bradbury. Some more guys on that defensive line. The great Fletcher Cox. Our guy, BG, Brandon Graham. Josh Sweat. Javon Hargrave. We also got Isaac Seumalo on this list. And our other wideout, Devontae Smith. So we got 8 actual Pro Bowlers and 7 on the alternate list. Also, folks, shout out to the boss lady, Simply Monica. I know you saw my post. I know you saw hers. Cuzzo Malik, what's going on, good brother? I know you saw my post because I shared it. So I know if you follow her, and I know you do just like you follow me, you saw her post. Listen, City Winery, tomorrow and Wednesday, you can get somebody a late Christmas gift. You can make up for a crappy Christmas gift or missing somebody on Christmas gift. Or you can just celebrate with a loved one or with a family member. Something just to get out, to enjoy the holiday season. We got Chrisette Michelle coming to the City Winery tomorrow, December 27th and December 28th. 2 shows a night, I think. So, here's what we do. You know we always had tickets, so you can win your tickets here on Heat 100 Radio. So now, it's time, 11:43. Boss lady, you hear it, 11:43. What I need to know for somebody to win possibly 2 tickets, okay? And I know everything that I talked about this morning, so you all listen to what I've talked about this morning. But what I need for the winner of these tickets, I need to know what record did James Harden tie or break? What category, let's do it that way. What category did James Harden stamp his name into the Sixers record books with over the weekend? Okay, I'll post it when I go off air, and I'll give you a time frame when you need to get your answers in. But again, what did James Harden do to stamp his name once again in the Sixers record book over the weekend? That's what the question is. You can win 2 tickets to see Chrisette Michelle either tomorrow or Wednesday. Dana, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for coming back. Dana, you missed a lot. I don't know if you was there during the first half, but you missed a lot. You missed all the Eagles talk, and you was the first one in, and I'm a little disappointed. I'm just kidding. Thanks for being a supporter, and thanks for coming back as always. So, folks, I want to move on, and I got to talk some Sixers, folks. I got to talk some Sixers. And, we just finished up before yesterday, just finished up a 7-game home stretch, okay? I was at 2 of those games. Fortunately for me, the 2 games, that's good. That's good. Bring some friends with you. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Thanks, Dana. I was at the Hornets game, and I was at the Pistons game. 2 wins for us, The Hornets just didn't have enough that night. They were missing some players. And the Detroit Pistons are just not there yet to compete with a team like the Sixers. So 2 wins there, but nonetheless, 7-game win streak going into yesterday, Christmas Day, kicking off Christmas Day, first game of the day. Again, they started out kind of slow. They looked a little bit like they were feeling that they had no problem beating this team, but it didn't really show. What showed was they kind of looked like they kind of took them for granted. So if you remember that game yesterday, in the early stages of that game, New York was being more physical. They out-hustled the Sixers. They got just about everything they wanted. Sixers made their runs, of course, and we know basketball is a game of runs. They made their runs, took a lead here, whatever. We got close in the first half. Second half came out, different mindset, totally different mind frame. And that fourth quarter was crazy. I don't know what was said to them in the locker room or whatever, but again, that fourth quarter was crazy for the Sixers. So again, now they're up to 8 wins in a row. The next game is tomorrow in Washington. Okay, go for 9 straight. Right now, they currently sit 5th in the Eastern Conference at 20-12, and 3rd in the Atlantic Division, 2.5 games out of first place, 1.5 a game behind the Brooklyn Nets, who are actually playing well right now, surprisingly. The other thing that I need to talk about with the Sixers right now is you see the stars aligning. Although Maxey is still out, Tobias Harris has once again, and when I say once again, I'm referring to a couple years ago where he kind of found his niche and where he fits in. I think he's starting to find that now. And when I say the stars are beginning to align, we see the play between James Harden and Joel Embiid. We see, and I took it for granted a lot earlier in his career when he was in OKC and especially when he was in Houston, where I didn't think he would be this good of a point guard. I thought that he could play the point guard for stretches of games, but I always felt like he was more of a scorer, even more so than a scoring point guard. I thought he was just more of a scorer. But here lately, he has changed my views a little bit. He has done some amazing things in the last couple games. In particular, the last 2 games where he had a triple-double against the Clippers, was it? Yes, he had a triple-double against the Clippers. And then he had a pretty decent, pretty solid game yesterday against the Knicks. So he's doing the right thing. Again, 29 points yesterday, 20 points against the Clippers. Okay? But, again, you see that these 2 stars that you have on your team, And you can arguably say these two superstars that you have on your team. Thanks for coming back, Lowell. You arguably can say that these two guys are superstars, and they're beginning to come together and play. And you can only imagine what can happen, what could be when Tyrese Maxey returns. And you have to be proud. You have to be elated somewhat in what you're getting right now out of DeAnthony Melton stepping into that starting role. You also have to be a little bit excited in what you're getting from George Niang off the bench and Shake Melton. There's still that issue with the bigs, Montrezl Harrell and Paul Reed. Still a little issue there that needs to be worked out sooner than later. But you can't be upset because when you come back, when he actually does eventually get back into the starting lineup, now you know that you have three guys coming off your bench now that can score the ball for you. Okay? One of them can score the ball and lock some people up on D. Okay, so already your bench is slightly better than it was last year. And then everybody talks about the Matisse Thybulle issue. Okay, so now you can kind of balance because you've got DeAnthony Melton that does play defense and can score. And now you have Matisse Thybulle that can come in and play defense. So you can conceivably play both of them on the court, depending on who else is on the court with them. You can kind of have them on the same court, on the court at the same time, rather, and have them guard maybe the hot hand or one of the key players on the other team. And depending on if you've got Joel and or Maxey or Harden out there, one of those three guys can go to work. And then you know you have the other three guys that can defend, but they don't have to exert an extra amount of energy helping out on defense. They can play their offensive roles and score. And then you have the two guys, their wing guys, that one can guard and lock down. The other one can lock down and contribute on the other end of the floor on the offensive end. So you're going to get a little bit more comfortable. I think things, again, like I said, will get better when Maxey comes back because you know what you have now in DeAnthony Melton, Shake Milton, and George Niang coming off the bench. You also can kind of wait and see what happens when they figure it out and kind of give Montrez the benefit of the doubt because he's been on playoff teams. He's been a sixth man of the year. And this is the one thing that is taking the longest to figure out. And like I said, it needs to get figured out sooner than later because we're basically into January. And when you turn your head, you blink a couple times, we'll be into February. And, you know, February is when the trade deadline comes in. And, again, we backtrack. And what I said to a lot of people when it happened with the releasing and the moving on from Isaiah Joe and Charles Bassey, it gave them some wiggle room for this time that's coming up, where possibly they may not have to make a trade where they could possibly pick somebody up off of waivers or something like that. So they have a little bit of wiggle room there. And when I say not make a trade, it's something, an article I saw that I want to try and squeeze in a little bit before we close out. But like I said, an 8-game winning streak, it's looking good. And like I told you way back in when it was in 5 games into the season, I told a lot of people, I said, oh, just be patient. It's a lot of moving parts that have to come together. And then when you get the injuries, it doesn't help. Again, because now you have guys that you brought in to play roles that you, in your mind and in your game plan that had specified for them. Now they immediately changed because of the injuries. So they have to do a little bit more than what you kind of expected for them to have to do. But on the flip side of that, and in the grand scheme of things, like I said before when it happened, now you have these guys where you don't have to worry about them going into games late in the season. You can just let them go and let them play. And you know what you'll get out of them if they stay consistent. So, again, long season, but I like what I'm seeing now. Definitely like what I'm seeing now. There will always be, and I think this is going to go on for the entire season. Yesterday, P.J. Tucker had 6 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist. But again, a lot of people are going to harp on that PJ Tucker signing. Nothing you can do about it now. He's here. Okay. And again, I bring this up once again, like I mentioned to a lot of people, and I even asked a couple people this at work the other day before the holidays. People gave me a bunch of names. And when they gave me these names, and I'm not going to give you these names now, but they were all solid names, of course. And what I said to people was like, I hear that. And, I'm not mad at this person. Yes, this person could come in and do exactly what we need here, and whatever. And I said, but the bottom line is the way the NBA is set up right now, how many of those younger guys that we know can check a bunch of boxes for us would come and play for $10 million a year the way the NBA is set up? Okay, this is what happened in the summer. This year's almost over. So that was 6 months ago. Half of the year. The year is almost over. Just to pretty much say the year is over. And I still have not gotten a solid answer on any one particular player from that grouping that everybody gave me that would come here. I had one person tell me, two people actually, maybe three, honestly. Three solid people that said, ain't none of the people that you talked about that we talked about going to come and play for that money because of the way the NBA is set up. And there's no gripe against those particular players. It's just the way the NBA is set up. But in the grand scheme of things, and it's not looking like what people want it to look like right now, but PJ Tucker does some things for us that do not show up in the stat sheet. I mentioned last week, in a game last week, I forget what game it was. It might have been, it was the Lakers game, where he got us 2 clutch rebounds late in that game. And I think he also might have got us 1 or 2 in the Clippers game. But again, those are stats. Those are things that don't show up in the stat sheet. And what I mean when I say that, I mean the moment, the situation of the game, where the game was, and he got that key rebound. That don't show up. It's just going to show up as a rebound, but you have to see it. It doesn't show up like it should. Like it's emphasized. It should be in the stat book, but it's not. But when you see it, you see the difference. So, again, I'm not going to harp on the PJ Tucker thing. Again, I was okay with the signing, and like I said, the way the NBA is set up, I figured $10 million is not bad. He's coming off of a championship season. And again, he gives us some things that we didn't have. And you see it a little bit now. You can see it in some of the games in this 8-game win streak. Yesterday, you can use yesterday as an example. They came out, they played kind of soft, let the Knicks get what they wanted, whatever. And I don't know if it was him. Like I said, I don't know what happened in the locker room at halftime. But when they came out in the second half, they imposed their will on the defensive end and got back in that game and ultimately won that game. Same thing with the Clippers game. They imposed their will in moments of that game when they needed to. Went to overtime, but they took that game. Same thing against the Lakers. They made some mistakes down the stretch, but they bucked down in overtime and won that game. Then there were other games with teams that they were overmatched. They overmatched. The Pistons game, Joel dominated like he should. The Charlotte game that I was at, he dominated like he should. The last couple games, he's dominated when he needed to. Okay, I talked to my good friend Richard Drummond a while back about Joel's three-point shooting. It's been down lately. I mentioned to Richard that I would like to see it at maybe 3 a game. Okay, I don't remember what he shot in the Clippers game, but I know yesterday, 3-pointers he shot, he was 1 or 2. And I'm good with that. Okay, ultimately he ended up with 35 points. 8 rebounds and 1 assist. Not too shabby. Okay? But he also shot 12 or 22 from the floor. Like I said, the 1 or 2 from the free throw line. A little disappointing for him from the free throw line. He shot 10 or 15. That's a little uncharacteristic for him. But if you remember, certain nights he does have games like that when he doesn't shoot what we're accustomed to him shooting from the free throw line. And, I kind of chalk that up to it happens. Okay? But for the most part, again, like I said, his defense and his offense has been showing. And he's been dominating when he needs to dominate. Even if it's not the entire game, when the moments when he needed to play bully ball, he has been doing that so far. So most recently, rather. And it's appreciative by the fan base again. And again, like I said, folks, a lot of people have started to talk about the Sixers now, and they're all like, oh, when they get Maxey back. Yeah, so, the writing is on the wall. They're putting some people on notice currently. And again, like I said, they're not at full tilt. And when they get Maxey back, now you've got, and let's just go with Maxey coming off the bench, so you got D'Anthony Melton who can score the ball. So you still got a little bit of wiggle room there. But let's just jump and see when Maxey goes back into the starting lineup. You got 4 legit scorers in your starting lineup. 4 that arguably on any given night can give you 20 points a night. So you can play with the numbers, play devil's advocate. You could arguably say that, okay, 80 points between them 4. All right? Now, the scoring thing, I'm kind of going to knock PJ out again because, like I said, he's not the scorer. But when you look at what's coming off the bench, you got, if you can say, let's just say they get 20, the 4 scorers you got, that's 80 points, right? On an average, you need about 120, 115, 120 points to win a game in the NBA, right? Let's go with the 120 at the lowest number, 120. So you got 80, so that means you need 40 more points. You can get 15 from Niang. Now you're at 95. Get another 15 from Shake. So now you at, let's see, 95 and 15. Now you at 110. So you can't get between, let's just say that, okay, between D'Anthony Melton and George Niang. Let's go George Niang because he can shoot the 3. So you get 15 apiece from them. That's 30 and puts you at 95. Well, no, 30 to that 80. It puts you at 115 or that 110, right? It puts you at 110. 80 and 30. 15 between them two. D'Anthony Melton and George Niang. 15 apiece from them, okay? Or let's say 15 apiece from them. I'm rounding up a little bit. 15 apiece from them. So that's 30 to the 80. So that's 110. So you mean to tell me between PJ maybe hitting 1 or 2 threes, Shake getting 6 to 8 points, Mathiable getting you maybe a bucket here and there, Trez giving you about 4 or 5, you can't win the game. You well past the 120 now. And then with the defense that they've been playing when they're focused, come on. It's going to come together, people. It is definitely going to come together. So one of the things I talked about real quick was I talked about, the wiggle room that they made with the moves of releasing or waiving Charles Bassey and Isaiah Joe, who have gotten playing time and have done some things in their first couple weeks at teams, but then they're starting to cool off a little bit. Okay, but we understand that. We know how things go. So one of the things I saw an article, Jack McCaffrey. He was saying the Sixers probably don't need to make a trade because everybody was talking the Sixers trading Tobias, and I kept telling people, I'm like, everybody comes up with that name, and that's going to be a very, very difficult trade because of the contract. So let's like kind of shy away from that, or begin to shy away from that a little bit. So this guy here is saying that the Sixers have everything that they need. He said he even went back to the point where they brought in Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris. Okay. And he said that they gave up some assets in Dario Saric and Robert Covington, which they did. And they gave him Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler didn't stay. So then they sent their last first-round draft pick option this year coming up to Memphis for D'Anthony Melton. Signed P.J. Tucker, a recent NBA champion with the Nets, and ability to guard 5 positions, and who every now and again makes a shot. Right. And then you get right. Tyrese Maxey returns from injury. Doc will have what he has found to be the perfect starting 5. And like I said, they punch a lot of boxes when you do that. He looked at it and he said, Tucker says, I think that's what takes us to another level. When the big fella when the big fella gets it going, he does what he does. And when James continuing the offense, controlling the game, it's really, really good. And we've seen how good it can be. He's also, Embiid said, I think we have enough talent. And I quote, he also says, guys like Shake Milton, they've been playing really well. I can't talk enough about D'Anthony. He's been amazing. All of them, House, Niang, Furk, all doing their jobs. I think the main thing is everyone has bought in. So if everyone's bought in, like I said, we should be looking at some sweeter days. And again, I said, things will get better. You just got to let it come. Okay? You just have to let it come. It is what it is. So the next thing I want to get to, folks, and this is something that I just saw the other day. Actually, like, what's today? Today is Monday. So I think I saw it like Friday or something, Saturday maybe. And there was some talk about rumors that James Harden may be interested in going back to Houston in the offseason. A lot of talk, they even tried to throw in the thing about, oh, well, his friends and his crew has been there looking at stuff and this, that, and the third. So yesterday, after the win over the Knicks in the press conference, James was asked about the situation. And here are some of the things that he said. And I quote, "I'm here," he stated. He also said, "We're playing very well, and I don't know where that report came from. But I'm excited to be here, and we're playing very well. We're continuing to get better." Heard it right from the horse's mouth that he is happy here. He doesn't know where that rumor came from. And, of course, it's very easy for people to say things when they see things. A lot of times, a lot of these guys, their job is to create a story, sell newspapers, bring ratings if it's on TV or radio or whatever. But again, like we said, he put it out there on himself yesterday, and he said he's happy here. This is where he is. This is where he wanted to be. And again, like I said, how many players would do what he did and take that pay cut to stay here and tell the owners and tell management, look, do what you need to do, get who you need to get, and give me what's left over. And, he did it the smart way. Take a 2-year, second year with a team option. But I think the way things are going, if they continue to go this way, I don't think there'll be any question that he'll be back next year. And I don't think it'll be a sudden sporadic move where he'll say, oh, well, it didn't work, I think I'm going to go back to Houston. And then again, when you think about the situation, you look at the Sixers situation, crying, Cuzzo, thanks for tuning in. When you look at the Sixers situation, you see where they are, and we see where they could go. And then you look at Houston, you see where they are, and we can see how long it's going to take them to go somewhere, to go anywhere, rather. We can see that. So at this point in his career, to me, that honestly doesn't make sense for him to leave the situation that he's in with the Sixers and just go back to Houston just because and play there where the situation is totally different. And if that happens, they're not going to be, well, at least I don't believe, because they're so young, I don't believe that they're going to be a winning team next year. I don't think this stage in his career that he's going to want to go and deal with those young players back in Houston. So I'm kind of saying, okay, it was said, and like I said, I'm taking his words for what it was worth yesterday at the press conference after the Knicks game, where again he says, thanks, bro. Thanks for the happy belated birthday. Appreciate you. He said he's here. They're playing well. They're continuing to grow. And this is where he wants to be. He's happy here. This is where he wants to be. And that's what I'm taking that for, as that being that. And, it is what it is. So, folks, like I said, Sixers, it's going to get better. Next game up for the Sixers to try and extend that win streak to 9 is tomorrow night against the Washington Wizards. Coming up tonight, closing out week 16 of the NFL, Monday Night Football, Chargers are at the Colts. In the NBA tonight, the Nets are at the Cavs. The Clippers are in Detroit to play the Pistons. T-Wolves and the Heat. Pacers, Pelicans. Rockets, Bulls, Jazz, Spurs, Hornets, Blazers. Giving you my selections for Week 17. Coming up this Thursday, December 29th, Dallas at Tennessee. I'm going to take Dallas in that because I don't know who their backup quarterback is, and Ryan Tannehill's not playing. So, it's Malik Willis. Forgot about that. It's Malik Willis. So, you know what? They run the ball. I'm going to flip that. I'm going to take Tennessee at home. Just play devil's advocate. Take Tennessee at home. On Sunday, January the 1st, New Year's Day, Arizona at Atlanta. I'm going to take Atlanta at home. Let's see here. Chicago at Detroit. I'm going to take Detroit at home. I'm going to take Kansas City at home over Denver. I am going to take Miami on the road over New England. Giants over the Colts. Eagles over the Saints at home. Philadelphia at home, rather, over the Saints. I'll take Tampa Bay over Carolina. I'm going to look for some help here, and I'm going to push and go Cleveland over Washington. Baltimore over Pittsburgh. Jacksonville over Houston. Niners over the Raiders. Jets, upset here. Jets over Seahawks. Mini over Green Bay. And Chargers over Rams. And then next Monday, Buffalo over Cincinnati. There you have it, folks. Those are my picks. I gave you your schedules for tonight in the NBA. Again, Again, the Chargers and the Colts tonight, Monday Night Football. And listen, again, City Winery, tomorrow night, Wednesday night, Chrisette Michelle is blessing the city with her presence. Heat 100 Radio can get you some tickets, but you got to win them. You got to participate. Again, I told you, what did James Harden do over the weekend to stamp his name into Sixers record book? That's the question that could possibly win you 2 tickets to see Chrisette Michelle either tomorrow night or Wednesday night. Boss Lady, Mo, thanks for giving me the support. Always, thanks for the tickets. We will close out here. Again, folks, it's another chilly day today. So dress warm if you got to go out, and I know a lot of you are at home. So if you're home, stay in the house, chill out, relax, enjoy your day off, enjoy the holiday season. If you have to go out like I do, please dress warm, dress appropriately, be safe, be great on purpose, enjoy your Monday, enjoy the rest of your holiday season. I will see you all right back here next Monday. Heat100radio.com, SportsRap Podcast LLC is the group page where we will be, and I'll definitely see you all week on social media. Peace. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. See you soon.